Hello, hello, hello. We are live here in Yorba, California. It's just a little after 9 o'clock. First, let me tell you what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about a dog that at a shelter that nobody wanted that finally got picked up by a couple. I'm going to be sharing my screen so you'll be able to see the picture of this dog. It's kind of a heartwarming story today on September 10th, the day before the anniversary is September 11th. We are going to talk about a police dog that saved a woman and a child, and what happened to that police canine. And what else do I have for us? We had about a dog in Australia that you won't believe. And then make sure you stick around for the whole show because as normal, at least in the last few episodes, we're going to be talking and doing some dog training that will be very helpful to you. And of course, you'll be able to give me your feedback as to what you think about that training and about what we're discussing. We're going to be discussing rewards and corrections or punishment or whatever, however you want to word that. Everybody uses a different name for it. Some people try to minimize it. Some people just say what it is. But we're going to have a whole discussion about that. And and then we're going to be talking about anything else that just pops into my little tiny pea brain. All right. So it's been a very, very crazy busy week. I've added probably, I'm thinking about 7 to 10 videos in our dog training programs. We have our Train the Dog Trainer program where we teach you about dog training and then actually teach you it's 8 weeks, but essentially 7 weeks on the field. So I still call it 8 weeks, but it's 7 weeks on the field with a customer, but the week previous is preparation. And we teach you how to do that in our Train the Dog Trainer program, and then obviously how to sell it and how to teach to human beings and that kind of stuff. So I put some new videos in there. And then I think this has been a while, though, a bed bug detection dog membership program that also has some new videos in there. In our day-to-day dog training, just added 1 or 2 videos and got 3 more that I've created that I have to upload. But for some reason, I get about halfway through the upload process on those videos and it crashes. So, that's using Wistia. Wistia is like YouTube or Vimeo, but for some reason it gets about halfway up and dies. So that if you're wondering why sometimes it takes a while to get some of these videos up, it's because certain videos, and I've used the same process, same thing, same settings all the time. Some of them go right up. Sometimes when I use a cellular connection, it works faster than an internet connection, strangely enough. But so you got to go to if you're members already, make sure, and if you haven't visited in a while, make sure and go, and you'll see that there's some new videos up there for you. And I need your suggestions. I just got an email from Gina, one of our trainers on the field out there at our pet dog training program, and people have been wanting to send their videos, as it says in one of my videos, that, send us a video of, the improvement of your dog or what it is you've been doing with your dog. But I, of course, failed to put an email address for them to send that to. So that's the kind of stuff I need to know. Because sometimes there's so many I'm putting in the description and the stuff that we're going to be talking about in the video, and forget those, unfortunately, very important, but sometimes seemingly small details that are really important to have in there. So communication between you, me, and you, the student, is really, really important. Just take the time. There's a little space inside that membership site, and each one of the videos, every video has a spot down at the bottom where you type in your comment, and it comes to me, and we will read it and do our very best to fulfill or answer that question that you may have there. I also noticed that sometimes in the replay of these live shows, for whatever reason, the system that I'm using now, it's called Mimo Live, cuts off the about 5 minutes of whatever our broadcast is. And so I've been, trust me, I've been on support, and they've given me 2 or 3 solutions that I follow through on, including completely deleting the program and reinstalling it using a different setting, and still it can cut off. So I'm looking at a new option. It just came out yesterday. It's a brand new platform that's going to allow me to do even more. I'm excited about it. So make sure and subscribe, because I'm going to be able to interview people no matter where they are in the world, right here on Facebook Live. It's going to be fantastic. I can't not wait. I know I can do it in these other platforms, but if it's cutting off half the show, what good is the platform to me if it's not going to work? So those are some exciting things. You're going to really love Falco Dog News live with this new platform. I can almost guarantee it. Guy Kawasaki led the launch of the program yesterday. If you don't know who he is, he's a motivational speaker, very well known in that arena. But he did something yesterday that just blew me away, and so I cannot wait to use it. It's going to be fantastic. And what else is happening today? We did at the gym. It was Autism Day. Autism. What is it? That would be horrible to say. Appreciation Day. What is it? Recognition Day or whatever. And so think about that today. Whatever you do, we trained a dog for a child that had autism, and the dog was trained to help find him when he would run off. And he's called that particular type of autism is called a loper, and we used their dog, which is always tough. And if you've ever heard me talking about detection dogs and how difficult it is to find a detection dog, the one aspect that is the most important part of a detection dog or any police dog is the selection process. We go out and we look at, actually, I don't look at them all. I have other people look at the dogs, and they look at a bunch, and they give me about 4 or 5 options. And then sometimes I select from those 4 or 5 options, and sometimes I don't. And so it really is truly less than 1% of the dog population can actually be a very good working dog. Now, there's other trainers that will take, dogs that I probably would not take, and they work to a certain extent. But my issue, and I know that I'm looking down at my screen here, but I'm trying to get one of the windows up that just crashed for some reason, and so what. The selection process being so important, if we're not part of that, sometimes it doesn't go well. So now to my point with this loper detection dog or tracking dog that we had, it really was an important part of the process that I learned very quickly, because that dog in the beginning was not the best dog to train. It actually slowed us down and made it very difficult for us along the training process. However, things got better and the dog really, really improved. Again, not to the standard of what I would want for a police dog or anything like that. But we were on Animal Planet on a television show, and I was doing a demonstration, and the darn dog, it must have knew the cameras are on, because this dog tracked the odor of Jake, who is the name of the child. The dog tracked the odor of Jake down the street, down a corner, down back behind an alley, around a vehicle, and found my daughter, who was with Jake, and did it perfectly with no cuts or anything. And it was fantastic. And so it was a very proud moment. And then as the dog went back to the family, the dog had 4 or 5 uses when Jake ran off and they couldn't find him, and took them to where he was. Sometimes it was a park, sometimes it was different places. The thing about a loper is you never know where they're going to go. With some children, you would know, they're just going to go to the playground, or they're going to go to Johnny's house. With a loper, you never know. They could walk across the freeway, literally. And they had locks on the doors that were up high on the top. They had every safety mechanism in, and yet when Jake found the opportunity, he would take off and run. So autism, back to how we got started on that whole ramble, is a very close to home thing, because having to spend time with Jake during the training process, I just remember how difficult it was for me to work with a child who just does not even acknowledge your presence, and how difficult that must be on a daily basis. So as much for the recognition that we give that children that have autism, the parents, just the change in their life that has to be made for a child that will never probably leave home, and what it is that they go through every day, and they love their children and have a passion for them. But it doesn't mean that it makes it easier to have a child that's autistic. And so awareness today, and the whole purpose for me bringing it up, is that just being aware and doing whatever you can. And so today at the gym, there was a 5-minute workout that was dedicated to just thinking about autism, and it was like a $35 donation. And so it was a really, really good day. So if you see anything happening that you can participate in, I would suggest you doing so. All right, so let's get to a couple of our stories, and then we're going to get to the training about rewards and correction in just a little bit. So I'm going to go to my screen here, and we're going to take a look at this story here, and it's about that shelter dog, and this comes out of... I know you all have to just love it when I do this and try to figure out where this is coming from. It says the Dodo, but I guess the Dodo is a website. I thought it was a newspaper. The Dodo. But anyway, the title is Couple Goes to Shelter to Take Home the Dog No One's Ever Asked About. So the wait was killing Padre. One day, the old boxer would be barreling around the grounds of the animal sanctuary, exulting in life. Another day, and he would have a steady limp. Days later, someone had to help him get around with a wheelchair. And there's a picture of Padre in his little wheelchair, I guess they're calling it. And there is a harness to help him walk. After being surrendered by his family and brought to Dogtail Sanctuary and Rescue in Ontario, Canada, there we are, Padre developed a condition called degenerative myelopathy. It relentlessly assaulted his central nervous system, leaving him less able to move every day, and every day a little less adoptable. So that's what he looks like. Oh, those are nice little shelters they got there. Look at the picture frames that they have in there. I wonder if the dog's aware that he has wall art in his kennel, but those are really nice. Look at the couch on the other one. Potential adopters kept passing him by. Padre, who stood facing the glass of his kennel looking out for every new visitor, ended every day in disappointment and began every day new day with a little less control over his body. It seems that when people see Padre, they see work and they see heartache, rather than seeing the incredible spirit and the unlimited amount of love and kisses that he has to offer. Claire Forndrain of Dogtails told the Dodo back in June, when Padre had already been there for almost 200 days. Our biggest fear, she added, is that a dog as special as Padre could die in a shelter. Look at that picture. And with his wheels. They should have named him Wheels. But late last month, a family came to the sanctuary looking only for Padre. Aaron Wynn and husband Josh Witchell had seen a video of Padre that moved them to tears. They wanted to be his family. But when they arrived at the sanctuary, he was nowhere to be found. We went down every aisle looking for Padre, and he wasn't there, Wynn tells the Dodo. They were just about to leave when Witchell asked a staff member if she knew a dog named Padre. Well, everyone knew Padre. He was out for a walk with his guardian angel, a volunteer named Stav and who had been taking special care of Padre from the moment he arrived, along with a lot of selfies. Look at that dog. She's been like an angel, Wynn says. She was there like 3 or 4 times a week, hanging out with him, bringing him on walks, giving him treats. Padre's new family promised him even more, like everyday love for the rest of his life. There he is going home. It was love at first sight, Wynn says. The thought of leaving him there was not an option. Very cool. So last week, the couple brought Padre to their home in Burlington, Ontario. Look at that. Padre's disease is degenerative, meaning over time it will sap his strength, but his heart is already feeling the regenerative power of family. He loves people, Wynn says. He's so affectionate. He will just lie with you and cuddle with you. It was instant bonding. If you would like to support Dogtail Sanctuary and Rescue and its mission to save countless dogs like Padre, make a donation. I'll make sure and put the link in the Facebook posting for this for the recording. But look at cool. Look how good that dog is. So any of you that are watching that just maybe have room for another shelter dog, look at, there's just dogs, and he won't be around very long. And you just don't want those last years or 2 to be in a stinking shelter. And that's just not what you want to see for a dog like that. And it brings up some issues. Sometimes, you wonder, is it really good for the dog in the long run to, if they're have some degenerative disease that's causing them to have to be in a, strapped to a chair and that kind of stuff. Sometimes we wonder about quality of life and that kind of thing. And I think everything is a case-by-case strategy, I guess I would like to say, is that you're going to have to make sure that you take everything into consideration. Do you have time, and do you have the willingness to make sure that dog does have a quality of life? In other words, are you going to take the time to put the wheels on and take the dog out and that kind of stuff? And it looks like this family did. So this, I think, is a perfect situation. And there's sometimes where dogs that have some type of disease and degenerative, that they just kind of let them lay around the backyard and then don't do anything. And there, I wonder, is it not better to just send this dog on his way? Because it's just not really fair, right? It's not fair that the dog just lays there and doesn't get the love and affection that Padre got in the story. Or maybe put something with Facebook. There's so many options now for a dog to try to find a home for a dog. And we've had this dog named Maverick, who's really, truly aggressive and has bit more than once. And trying to find him a home is impossible. And I have a family and kids where the dog is right now. And he does have... add a little bit of danger at our household, but one-on-one with me, he's a loving dog. He rolls over on his back, he runs and plays with the ball, he actually plays with other dogs, and just has a blast, and just is so energetic, almost like a puppy, when it's just he and I. But he gets out, and the first person he sees, he attacks, and has proven to do that on several occasions, and bit them. He bit me when I first met him and didn't let go. It wasn't like a fear bite. It was an aggressive, total offensive type of bite, not defensive. Defensive bite and hoping you would go away, right? He was in there and in it for good. And I still have the scar, which you probably can't see on there, but there's a scar across my arm here where he hung on, and I had to actually grab his testicles to get him off. I couldn't get him off, and we had about 14 people there in class that were watching. And then I told him to search because he was a bed bug detection dog, and with me bleeding, I have this on video, so if anybody wants proof, I told him to search right after he let go of my arm, and he started searching, found the bed bugs and sat, and I threw him his ball, and everybody applauded. I don't know if they were applauding because he bit me or applauding because he searched and found the bugs. But I remember them applauding. Now I'm trying to think back. I think there was a couple of, I think they were all like their jaws were dropped about what they saw, because this dog just launched at me, and I had too much leash, and he was able to get me in the arm. But we've kept him now for probably 6 years now, somewhere around there. And he searched buildings and trains and buses and all these kinds of places. Just deserves more than just going away, right? But his life is essentially when nobody's around, when I'm not around, is in a kennel. But he gets out and runs around and plays with other dogs. So it really depends. And when you have these dogs that are in these situations, what is their life going to be like? And again, if they're in a situation where it's just nothing, I'm not sure that the humane thing to do is to actually keep them around. So some of you may differ, and that's just my opinion, of course. And so I would encourage everybody that if you have the time and the heart and the energy and the desire to change a dog's life, is to just go visit the shelter and find a dog that fits into what it is that you want to do. Don't always go and look for the puppy or the dog that is about a year or 2 years old that's really cute, right? Sometimes finding the dog that is the most difficult to adopt for these shelters is the one that may give you the most satisfaction and love. And so go out there and seek that kind of dog. And a dog like Padre, who's, the dog may have another 2 years. And just give that dog those 2 years as being the best in his life. All right, so let's go on to the next story. Let's bring up... So I'm going to bring up the Australian story, just so you can see the pictures more than anything else. And this is from the Daily Mail in Australia. And in the Daily Mail, we have a dog. What's this dog's name? Baron. So Baron, it might be love. How they come up with these titles is really interesting. This thing pops up on me. Owner of Australia's biggest dog forks out $200 of food for him weekly. It doesn't seem like that much that would be the headline. I know people that spend that on dogs that aren't huge. Despite being regularly crushed under his 113 kilograms. Oh, crap. I meant to look that up and see how much that is in pounds. Hold on. Let me find weight conversion. Weight conversion. What did we say that was? 113 kilograms. Somebody's yelling at me right now. I just know it. 113. Oh man, I forgot already again. 113. I was busy looking at the other things, and make this pounds. Pound. Oh, this ain't working. Some of you are seeing how challenged I am right now. 452 pounds. That cannot be right. There we go. Oops, I put volume. Well, crap. Let's go to this one. There we go. 113. Wow, I'm just not having any luck here. Oh, 249 pounds. Thank God I figured that out. All of you are probably just going crazy. No, don't do that. Don't type that. 249 pounds. That is a pretty big dog. I'm not sure if I've ever even witnessed a dog being over 200 pounds. I'm not sure, but that is huge. And so if you've ever, oh man, the words they're going to use here in Australia, lamented, getting pestered by your pet while watching TV, spare a thought for the owner of Australia's biggest dog, the 249 pound, is that what I said? 249 pound dog. An English Mastiff may be a gentle giant, but images of him crushing his owner, Mark York, under his hulking frame show the affectionate hound lacks a great deal of spatial awareness. The 6'6" Sydney Pooch is set to start visiting schools and hospitals as a therapy dog, and he's yet to stop growing. So here's that picture. Let's see if I can get this to pop up here. Look at that dog. That would look like one of those dogs you think are photoshopped. But as far as I can tell, that is not a Photoshop dog. 249 pounds. And I don't think $200 a week is that much for that dog. I think that, again, so I know people that spend a lot of dog feeding a raw diet that's pre-made for them, that's probably spending that much money for a smaller dog. But look how big that dog is. 249 pounds. And a therapy dog, and that is a good use of this dog, right? And so this is just, well, a therapy dog, ideally, for what it is that I think of a therapy dog, is it's to get people's minds off of whatever is ailing them or worrying them and that kind of thing. And so there is no doubt that this dog, walking in there, 249 pounds of him, is going to take people's minds off of no matter what it is that they're thinking about. And I think that this is a great use for this dog, being as huge as he is. He talks about eating, let's see, he eats meat and biscuits for brekkie, chicken necks for a midday snack, and meat and biscuits. What's the difference between, what's brekkie? Oh, brekkie for breakfast. For dinner, and extra vitamins and oils, some pilchard or sardines, egg, pumpkin, and veggies. Pretty good diet. Barron snared the Best Junior Dog Award at the Royal Melbourne and first place at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Nice, nice. I've played this video, but I'm afraid that it's going to maybe knock us off.
How much does he eat, Mark? He must eat you out of house and home.
Yeah, he likes his food, but he's although he's a big dog, he's slow eater. He's a quiet eater. He doesn't scoff his food down.
He's a mindful eater, and you don't get that in the Mastiff community very much, do you?
Especially with all the saliva.
I think most of the weight is in his noggin. All right, it's going to play another video here. Let me stop that. All right, well, that's pretty cool. That's a 249-pound dog. I'm sorry you had to watch me go and stumble through trying to find to convert kilograms into pounds. I apologize for that. All right, let's go straight into our other story. You don't need to see me right now, but I want to talk about this California police canine. Unfortunately, he passed away from his injuries. But it's just another thing that you need to be aware of with everything that's going on in the news, with whether they're standing for the national anthem or whatever. I have my opinion about it. I'm sure you have your opinion on it. Everybody has their right to free speech and all that kind of stuff. I love the NFL and I love watching football, but it really has me personally in a quandary whether I'm going to watch football. They also made a decision on not letting the players at the Dallas Cowboys wear a sticker to honor the 6 police officers that were killed in Dallas, and the NFL told them no. And so in that vein, there's so much that happens on a daily basis. I mean, again, I brought this up in many postings on my personal page, and that being a police officer for 24 years and that kind of stuff. And I'm not always siding with cops. I am the biggest critic of cops when it comes to doing things right or wrong. And I have my opinions on why that is. I think the academies are not what they used to be. They're no longer stress academies. They're simply just college courses, and really don't challenge the potential police officer and how they're going to deal with not only doing the paperwork and looking up the crimes and making sure they fit, but doing that while they're being shot at or wrestling with people and making sound decisions under stress. We work 12.5-hour shifts. I'm in the middle of the night, and being able to do that when you're being sleep deprived and all those kinds of things, and the academies don't address that. And so I think that's one of the things that I think is wrong with law enforcement today. But there are but again, now go back to my original point, they can handle 45 to 60 calls a day, where out of all those every day for a week, the majority, and if not all of the calls, they are making sound decisions, doing the right thing, and saving lives on a daily basis. And if you were to take the percentage of all of those and the calls where they make the wrong decision, either out of just not being well trained, or whether they're racist, whatever it is, it's such a small percentage that they focus on the small percentage and really seem to forget all the other stuff. And I want to make sure that there's a balance, right? We just don't have the balance in the news and what's going on, and thinking, these human beings and these canines are doing some amazing things on a daily basis. And so I bring up the story, and I've made the commitment to have as many heartfelt stories and fun stories, and reduce the amount of stories that I was talking about that were not that fun and not that funny. But this is an important one. California police canine who was injured in the line of duty last month died Wednesday after complications of surgery. Canine Ty injured his back during the arrest of a barricaded suspect who was holding a woman and child hostage inside a home in Barron. I guess that's near California City, because it's California City Police Department. They must do they must have the contract for Barron. On August 3rd, although Ty was able to quickly apprehend the suspect, allowing the woman and child to be taken out to safety, the dog injured its back when the suspect fell on him. The canine underwent back surgery but did not survive. Ty's handler, Officer Vinny Rivera, posted this letter to Facebook after Ty's death. Today I had to say goodbye to my best friend and my partner. I'm sitting here wiping tears off my screen and off my face because of how unexpected this operation went, but I won't go into details. I taught Ty so many things and watched him grow into the most amazing police dog anyone could ask for, and he taught me some things as well. Ty was the kind of friend, the best kind of partner. I watched and felt all the pain leaving his body. I held him close, letting him know he was a good boy, a big, strong pup that could take on the world. And man's my best friend. I watched his life leave him, but I saw how relaxed and pain-free he was. I started thinking of all the things he's shown me, things like how to find drugs in hidden compartments, how to scale 6-foot walls, how to track down missing persons and give them a good lick to make sure they knew they were safe, how to catch a Kong in midair, how to love unconditionally, how to be honest and how to show respect, but also keep your guard up, how to make sure that the bad guys don't get a leg up, how sprint as fast as you could through the house and not get caught by Dimitri, the boxer. You showed me unconditional love, and I returned the favor. Till Valhalla. Rest easy, little brother. I'll miss you. So, well, that was started to bring back memories of my police dog and when it was time for me to put him down. And wow. So this dog saved this woman and this child during a hostage situation. just you need to remember these things. And those of that want to not stand for the national anthem because of whatever they feel the police officer is doing, I equally, if not more so, think we should be standing up for all the good things that police officers are doing in our military. And we don't always get it right. Right. And I know that for sure that I didn't always get it right. And I know as a sex crimes detective, the amount of decisions that have to be made and things that have to be decided and that kind of stuff. And then every so often, it just isn't in the cards for that particular day to be perfect. And none of us are perfect. And, we want dogs to be perfect, and they're close to perfect. But they're not. So this dog needs to be honored. This dog, Ty, saved a family, a woman and a child at least, from harm, and did his job perfectly on that day, and did a really, really good job. And so we need to stand up tomorrow on 9/11 when we hear the national anthem, whether you are at home or not in your car. If you're in a bar, we need to stand. And I think that's what needs to be done tomorrow. And those that don't feel like they can stand, and they need to sit, and they need to kneel, or whatever it is that they're going to do, because that's their choice based on what they're thinking at the time. I'm not sure that I can support, and this is just me going on a rant, the NFL. I'm trying to just remember that, again, just like there's police officers doing great things all the time, it isn't all the people in the NFL. There's a couple people that make these decisions. And to take away the sport that I've loved since I was a little kid, including, and then also in hockey, two sports that I just love. My wife doesn't understand why I love sports like that, but see, we don't all get along. We don't all understand that thing, but I do. I love it, and I'm trying to come to a conclusion in my mind, and tomorrow I'll be challenged as I'm watching the game. I can't wait for Monday, LA Rams playing the San Francisco 49ers, which I hated when I was a kid, and probably will go back to hating now that the Rams are back in LA. So sorry about you 49er fans that I'm have that feeling. I have the same feeling about Dallas, and I wish the players could wear those stickers on their helmets like they wanted to, or whoever it is that decided they wanted to do that. All right, so there's enough of my rant, and I apologize. No, I don't apologize. I don't apologize for anything about what I just said. All right, so let's talk about, now let's go into our training. The training that I want to talk about today has to do with try to explain, at least probably more so, my philosophy and the philosophy of probably, I think it's safe to say, a large portion of dog trainers and people with their dogs. And that is that there needs to be a balance, and the balance isn't always equal. All right. So when I'm talking about a balance, I think praise has to be not overpower, has to be more significant. Probably a better word. Maybe I should go back to my conversion table. The praise and the love and the affection and the treats and all this kind of stuff needs to encompass more of a dog's life than correction and punishment, aversion. They have all these other names for it. It's all the same thing. It's when we tell a dog he's doing something wrong, right? And so, but that needs to be a smaller part of the dog's life. Now, when we're training, there is a time that the corrections and the punishment become a little bit greater than our opportunity to reward the dog, right? But very soon and very quickly, if this continues, we have to realize the dog doesn't understand how to be correct. Because we keep correcting, but we not getting the result, right? And so if we keep correcting and not getting the result, what we're doing is causing more confusion, and the dog doesn't understand. So I want to take the time to talk about how it is we find that balance and what that balance may look like, and what my philosophies on a correction are. And so let's talk about reward. Reward comes in a lot of different forms, more than I think most people and even most trainers even think. It comes in the sound of a voice. It comes in the word that you use when you're saying something. It comes in contact. It could be the touch of the side of our leg. It could be the touch of our palm on the dog's head or on the dog's back. It rarely is patting. I just want you to know that patting the dog is not, probably with most dogs, a reward. I'll talk, if I can remember, I'm going to bring up patting later. But right now, I want you to just have the understanding, at least based on my philosophy, that patting is not a reward. Petting, or a smooth stroke or a touch, all of those are reward. Patting is not. If you've ever patted a dog on the head and watched them blink and actually move away, do that, and you'll soon see that this is not a reward. And yet, many men, use patting as their nice dog, what a good dog, and they pat the dog on the head. I just woke up the dog that's laying on the ground here. And so just understand that. Patting is not including in that. And I want you to refrain from patting your dog. Food. All kinds of different kinds of treats. Hold on, I'm going to go off camera here a little bit. So there's all kinds of different kinds of treats, right? You got your Natural Balance isn't one of my favorite. But you have your chicken bites, and you have your chicken strips with pumpkin. And depending on your dog, for some dogs, these chicken bites are going to be... well, it's really shiny. You can't see it. These chicken bites are the perfect treat for some dogs. Other dogs that don't want to chew or have gum problems, teeth problems, maybe that's not a reward. It may hurt, right? But these chicken strips with pumpkin are really soft, right? And so for another dog, these are the ultimate reward. Or hot dogs, chicken-based hot dogs, or beef, or what else do they? I don't know what other kind of form. They may have some soy. What is that word I'm looking for? Anyway, they have other kinds of treats or other types of hot dogs. And the hot dog may be the ultimate reward. Often it is not kibble. Sometimes we feed a kibble that the dog really doesn't like, but it's so hungry it eats it anyway. But it's not going to do a backflip for its kibble. Some kibble. Now, Open Farm, which is one of my favorite dogs, my new favorite dog food, I've seen dogs I could use that for a treat. And the dogs love it. So all those things, I said voice earlier, your presence, right? Just you being present is a reward for the dog. Steadily being present. And I'm going to explain how that works as a reward for the dog. So all of those things, going for a walk, moving forward is a reward. From a standstill, moving forward is a reward. So you need to look at all these things that you're doing, because in some cases, if you're using... if one of those things happen when the dog is doing something he's not supposed to do, it can be very confusing, and the dog can think, oh, I just got rewarded for doing that. All right, so let me go on the example of heeling, right? So if we are standing still and we want the dog to sit and stay, one of the ways we reward the dog for that is when the dog is sitting and staying and being good, is we just give a smooth stroke to the dog on his head or his back. Right? So that's reward number one. When the dog is standing there, being still and quiet and doing exactly what we want, we say, good, in a voice that dog recognizes as you being happy with whatever it's doing. And that becomes a reward. So that's a second kind of reward. We have a treat, right? The dog's sitting, being quiet. We then reach down and give the dog a treat. And the dog goes, they like what I'm doing. I'm sitting here being quiet at a heel position. I'm being good. Right? And then another one, and this is the one that is often overlooked, is that all of a sudden we move forward, right? The dog sits there and he's quiet and being good, and that's exactly what we want, but their dog wants nothing more than to move forward. So when we move forward, the dog goes, thank God. Oh, thank you for moving forward. I will try to stay and be good so I can move forward, right? You have to kind of teach that one, but it's still a reward. So those are all rewards. And how we teach the heel is that we then, if the dog is moving forward too fast, we then come to a stop. This now goes into the area of correction, right? And then when the dog stops and heels and sits and becomes quiet, then we move forward as the reward. All right, so now let's talk about aversion, correction, punishment, right? And so some people say, I'm a purely positive trainer. I do nothing negative to the dog. I call BS on that. I was trying to think of another word because I have heard a lot of purely positive. I've gone to the APDT conferences. I have spent time with people that claim to be purely positive people, but they use punishment also, and that is they withhold food, right? Withholding food that a dog knows you have is a form of correction or punishment, because the dog's going, I really want that, but they're not giving it to me, right? And the dog wants it. I know trainers that actually starve dogs for a good period of time before they start giving the reward, and they claim to be purely positive. But you've starved the dog for days before you began training, or you've withheld food in the morning without training. That's not positive, right? We feed our dogs all normally. The only time we don't feed a dog is when the dog is going to be working hard, because we don't want the dog to bloat. It has nothing to do with training. It has to do with the dog staying alive, right? But I know people that use starvation or withholding food, and you can look at it, the spectrums are huge, right? Starvation is like days. Withholding is withholding breakfast, and that is a negative, right? So it's not purely positive. I know people that hold their dogs back and stop, right? But they don't pull back, right? So they go, I don't pull back. And that's that when you pull back and give that pop, that's a correction. But when I'm stopped, that's not a correction. Oh no, it's a correction because the dog wants to move forward, right? The dog wants to do this thing, but you're not letting him. And that is negative, right? So that's not purely positive. Negative, positive, all right? And so not moving forward, withholding food. Then we move into leash correction. So a leash correction, a proper correction, is when you are demonstrating to the dog through discomfort, not pain, not choking, not lifting up on his feet by his neck. None of those are correction. That's anger from you to the dog. That's miscommunication, and that can be, depending on how hard doing it, from humane to extremely inhumane. All right, so it simply is just a little pop, very quick, that feels like that. I see the mic going up. That's how quick it must be, right? And sometimes it's in the direction, right? It's like if you want the dog to sit, you want that correction or that pop to be going upward, but it's not to pull the dog into the sit position. It's just kind of giving some direction as to what it is that you're looking for. So a down correction would be down below the dog's head, but it's just a very quick pop of the collar. So on a belt collar, it's just a quick tightening of the collar. You can use a martingale, you can use a flat collar. Then we go move into choke chains. If it's choking the dog, then it's not being used correctly. You should never get a choking manner, be using a choking manner of that collar, of a training collar. If it's choking him or causing him to choke or causing him to cough, then you need to move on to something else because it's not working. You're putting something else into the dog's head that he can't breathe or that hurt his trachea, and that's not proper. That's inhumane, right? It needs to be simply a tightening of that collar very fast that tells the dog, up, no. It's just like when we take a child and we squeeze their hand or we grab their shoulder or we grab their shirt and we tell them no because we want their attention. Right? We want them to understand that I'm speaking to you right now, and I need you to do this instead of what it is you're doing. Right? And it's an attention getter, but it's not supposed to be involving a great deal of pain or discomfort, not the choke chain. The choke chain is just to tell the dog, hey, I need you to not do that, and I need you to do this, and you give them direction, right? And you tell them what it is you want. Then we move into pinch collars. There's other things that are kind of in between, but let's just stick to the main ones. The pinch collar pinches the skin. Now we've crossed over the line from causing discomfort to actually now causing from discomfort to pain. Right, so we've moved into this other area. The choke chain should never cause pain. The choke chain should never cause a dog to yelp. The choke chain should never cause the dog to lose its breath. The pinch collar actually causes discomfort to pain, right? But you need to manage that pain by not being too harsh or too heavy on the pinch collar. The reason a pinch collar can be used, and at least in the ways that we use it, is to make the person stronger than the dog. So it is more so that I find when I decide to use a pinch collar, it's because of the human being, not because of the dog. Many people do it the opposite way. They think any dog that pulls so hard that it causes a person to move, then they get automatically the pinch collar. I know trainers, and I've even had trainers that have worked under me and then left, understanding my philosophy, then start their own training program, and then all their dogs go on pinch collars. I know of 2 of them right here that are just right here in my same city. That as soon as everybody gets there, it is required that they have a pinch collar, which is ridiculous. It is the most insane thing I've ever seen. There's at least 2 other trainers I know of here in Orange County that do that. So if it's just here in Orange County, it's rampant and all over the place. The reason they do that is because it's easy and they're lazy. Right? The pinch collar needs to be carefully selected for the human with the dog that they have. Right? So with this human, with this dog who's really strong and powerful and overpowering the human being, that pinch collar may be and usually is the perfect solution because it gives that person who's, say, a 90-pound woman who doesn't maybe go to the gym every day with a dog like, say, not that Mastiff, because Mastiffs are kind of soft. Just they're big, but they don't require a big correction. Let's say a Pit Bull, German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois, right? And so some of them, not all of them. So don't lay that blanket statement that Andy said all Pit Bulls, German Shepherds, and Malinois need a pit. No. This person who's 90 pounds, who doesn't go to the gym with that dog who's powerful and strong and just basically ignores them, that human being needs the pinch collar to be on the dog so they can have control. It gives them more strength because you don't have to pull back, don't have to give the correction, because the dog usually does most of the work itself. All right, so I'm going a little bit long on this pinch collar thing because everybody gets confused by it. Everybody now and then gets confused what I'm saying and say, Andy said this. I'm telling you right now that trainers that only use the pinch collar are foolish and they're lazy. All right, so it is not possible. I've had dogs come to me from other trainers where the first thing I do is take the pinch collar off, because I said that dog and that human being, the pinch collar is the thing that's causing the problem between the relationship. It is the thing that's causing the dog to run away because they can't stand that human being. Because the human being has been told to put the pinch collar on them, and now the dog in their relationship is broken. And the dog wants nothing to do with that person because they don't trust them and they don't respect them, because a trainer told them they need to have a pinch collar on their dog and didn't take into consideration the combination of the human being and the dog. All right, there's some dogs that have never gotten the help that they deserve because they were never trained how to put the pinch collar on properly, or they were taken to somebody who doesn't believe in pinch collars. So now you have the opposite, right? You have somebody that doesn't believe in pinch collars. We're going to get this no matter what, but you're not understanding the dynamics of what's going on here. The lady is 90 pounds. Never goes to the gym, does not have the power, does not have the timing, and she's a school teacher or a dentist or something. That she does not want to be a dog trainer. She does not have the desire to understand all the concepts that goes to training a dog like that without the pinch collar. She needs help now. She loves that dog. She just can't take the dog for walks. So how do we keep this relationship together? And that she wants it, but she just can't take the dog for a walk because the dog drags her down the street. The pinch collar may be the solution to keep that dog in that house, to mend the relationship, and to bring that dog to a place that can be managed and understand how it is they go on a walk with that human being, and respect that human being for who they are, the leader of them. And so the pinch collar is that thing. So I know, but it has to be worn correctly. The human being has to understand how to give a proper correction so it doesn't cross over into a type of discomfort or pain that the dog doesn't understand, because that's the other side of the spectrum, right? Hope I made that clear. So then we have electronic collars, and there's people that say electronic collars are for buttheads, and nobody should they should be arrested if they use an electronic collar. I have saved dogs' lives and humans' relationship because the only option for this person was an electronic collar. But again, it has to be used properly. You have to lay a foundation. You can't go into levels that really that are painful to the dog, that cause the dog a lot of discomfort, because they're, in most cases, people are not trained with electronic collar. They get it from the store. Those stupid pamphlets that come with those electronic collars give you no understanding of how to use it properly. They just tell you how to use it. They know which buttons to push, but they don't teach you the concepts of how to use that electronic collar properly. They watch a couple YouTube videos and they start shocking the crap out of their dog, and then they jack everything up, and now the dog is ruined, and the dog is afraid of its own shadow. So yes, the electronic collar can quickly mess up a dog, and so not using an electronic collar properly is completely inhumane and doesn't work. However, if when used properly and if a firm foundation is laid, and not every dog can work on electronic collar. Some dogs just will never get it no matter what you do. But in the cases of using it effectively and properly with a firm foundation, electric collar can be fantastic. I'll shortly go on the story. There was a lady who had muscular dystrophy, I think, MS. One of the things, she was going downhill quickly, much like the boxer in that story, and she had a golden retriever that at some point began to overpower, knock her down, and lick her, almost drowning her in slobber. And she just didn't know what to do. She loved the dog, but she wasn't able to control the dog. Her hands were crippled. She could not hold on to a leash, but she could push a button. And so at the time that happened, I was completely against electronic collars, because we are ordered by our chief of police to put electronic collars on all of our dogs and didn't give us training and said, you will use electronic collar every day no matter what, and it was ruining our dogs. And so I never charged my collar and put it on my dog, but it never had electricity in it. And so I was firmly against electronic collars, but in this situation I found that was going to be the only solution. There was no other choice for what I had going on here, because I could not help her out with her dog, and because with me there, the dog never did it, right? But as soon as I left, the dog would jump on her, knock her down, knock her off her wheelchair, her walker that she had to use, and that kind of stuff. And so I just said, you know what, I think the electronic collar may be the only hope for the situation. So what I did is I said, give me 2 weeks. I'm going to learn as much as I can about how to train this properly, because how I was trained was not good. And so the Dobbs were husband and wife, and I don't think they're alive anymore, because this was several years ago. It was probably about 25 years ago. I got some training from them. I actually invited them to our police department to train us how to use electronic collar properly. They were fantastic. I then looked at some other dog trainers that were using electronic collars and found what I thought would work best for the given situation that we're in, and found the electronic collar is actually the thing that saved this lady with her dog. And so that dog was able to stay. The dog no longer knocked her down, and she had a way of controlling the dog happily. The dog's tail wagged. The dog never yelped. The dog never came to her with this tail between its legs. It was the solution for that particular problem. And so then I became a fan of the electronic collar under certain circumstances, and only when used and trained properly. I tell people all the time that ask electronic collar, I said, no, learn how to train your dog using our system first, and then if you think that it still needs electronic collar, then we'll have a complete training program to teach you how to use electronic collar. So I've gone through the line of corrections and punishment. We talked about all the things that are rewards, and now how do we find that balance, right? And so in the beginning, in our first day of training, where we're teaching the dog to sit, we're putting the dog in the sit position over and over again. We use our fingertips. That's another form of correction, because it's not fun and soft and gentle to the dog. So you'll see in our videos, if you're on our membership site or you're watching our videos and our training, that I talk about using your fingertips to move the dog, to position the dog, to show the dog where you want him to be. And then when the dog is, then you open your hand and give the dog a pet. That's very clear. No, yes. Yes, no, right? And so that's very clear messaging to your dog during the training. Messaging in a clear, concise, black and white manner is the way that you train a dog perfectly. When you're gray, so if I were to take my hand and push the dog using my palm of my hand, now I'm telling the dog, you're good, but you're in the wrong spot. You're good, but you're in the wrong spot. And the dog's going, I'm confused, because when I'm over here, first thing I feel is a pet. And now you're moving over here, and now you're petting me. Which one is it? And so now you get a dog that sometimes sits crooked and sometimes sits straight. The reason being is because you're using an open hand, and the dog is confused. Use Ted. I'm good there, and now I'm good here. And you keep moving me to all these spots, and all of them appear to be good. So that's not a proper balance, and it's not black and white, right? So correction when the dog is sitting out, using a claw, fingertips, to move the dog's butt closer to you. As soon as the dog's in position, you can open your hand and then take your hand off, and now you're telling the dog, that's the position I want you in. I don't want you out here. All right, using the leash as a correction. This one's hard to do, so you can't. It's hard to correct the dog, and for the dog to understand that when you're giving a leash correction, when I'm sitting over here, it doesn't quite make sense. Now, can you do that? Yes. You can just keep correcting the dog like this, giving little pops, and then when the dog either decides or somehow gets lucky and moves his butt over, then you stop. Can that be a way of doing it? Yes, but I don't recommend it, because it takes too long. And now you're weighing too heavy on corrections and not giving the dog the direction on how to be successful. Sometimes you need to show your dog how to be successful, and using this form of correction until the dog does it right, is now you're weighing too heavy on correction to get the reward. Does it work? Yes, I've seen it. I've seen people do it with pinch collars. The police dog training that I was a victim to for several years with my police dog involved nothing but harsh corrections, using a stick to hit the dog, and pinch collars that sometimes were sharpened on a lathe so that they came to a point, and that was put on our dogs. And those things would be used and correct the dog until the dog did it right? But the corrections were ginormous, and many dogs were working out of fear, not out of motivation, because they love their handlers, and that is an imbalance. So my philosophy here, and my what I'm trying to show you here, is that you take all the things you know in rewards, and you take all you know about corrections, and you manage them to a point where you can find the one that allows you to correct once or twice, or less, not at all, and then use the reward system based on what it is that you can show immediately the dog to show that he's correct. Is it moving forward? Is it a stroke? Is it treats? Is it a nice soft voice? Whatever it is, you need to pick and choose based on your situation that you're in. If you are away from home and you got your dog and the dog did something good, you maybe don't have your treats with you, but normally use treats for this particular thing, but you don't, then you have to pick one of the others, and it needs to come quickly and be handy to you, so you give the dog the reward. So at some point when you're doing your work, you will at some point, if the dog kind of begins to know what he's supposed to do, you can withhold and not use a correction, because at some point the dog may get it correct, right? So now let's go to a stop and sit. So when we come to a stop, sometimes we stop and we correct to let the dog know that he's still standing, he needs to be sitting, right? So that comes quickly. Other days, we come to a stop and we wait. The dog thinks. The dog goes, I think I'm supposed to be sitting. The dog sits. Oh, what a good dog. And you pet him on the head, right? So we withhold giving the dog a correction. It's because we want to weigh heavier on the reward, right? So at some point we have to do that. So in the beginning, we use a lot of corrections, 1, 2, 3 maybe at the most. If you have to use more, then something's wrong. We then reduce that down into a point where we don't use a correction at all. We wait for the proper behavior, and now we give the reward. So now on our walk, when we go walk and we come to a stop, we reward because the dog sat, right? We walk, we turn the corner, we come to a stop, the dog sits, we give a reward. We walk, the dog sees a cat, we stop, the dog's going cat, we give a correction. The dog sits, we give him a reward. So in that session of walking, you can see where hopefully it's all beginning to make sense, is I've gotten to the point through proper training that I was able to show the dog what it was I wanted. I used the form of correction that was necessary and proper for our situation. I rewarded heavily when the dog did things right? And then I got to a point where I no longer had to use corrections for most situations, and only when the dog was greatly distracted that I then moved to the correction that was necessary. I gave it once, the dog now responded, and I gave him a pat on the head. So even under distractions, what I'm telling the dog, I don't care what it is you're distracted by, you still need to pay attention to me, no matter what. Right? And so we begin to get very clear in this dog's head. Now, the dog's going to say, wow, they're so fair that when I'm not distracted, I come to a thing, they let me know that I did something right. And that's really cool. And I really like them for doing that. And they also let me know when I'm doing something wrong, right? And so it's the same philosophy that we look for when we're training and teaching children, that we want teachers to hopefully do with our children, is that maybe in the beginning, the first couple of days of school, we're giving them lots of direction, right? We're showing them how to do stuff. I'm talking about kids now. Giving them lots of direction. We're giving the correction. When they're acting out, we respond quickly, right? Whether it's punishments, I need you to sit over there away from your friend Johnny. You can no longer sit next to him, and you need to sit over there, and I need you to just be quiet because you're distracting the rest of the kids, right? You have another kid act out, and maybe he's done it 3 times already. Now you say, all right, I got to up the correction. I need you to write, I will not talk in class, 30 times. On the chalkboard back there while the rest of us are playing thumbs up, 7-up, right? And so the corrections become harsher as the child continues to disobey, right? And we find the balance. What is the one thing that makes this child respond? We find that correction, right? It may not be the same for Johnny or Jimmy or Sally, right? But for Tony, the corrections need to be higher because he's a Belgian Malinois in my class. But Sally, she's more like a Shih Tzu, and she just needs to be talked to a couple times, and then she gets it right? And so, although it seems like an imbalance, right, when I'm talking about human beings, you got to be fair in class and all that kind of stuff. But you can see my point that each human being needs something different. It's the same thing with the dog, right? And so as time goes on, hopefully by the end of the year, you got children that line up outside the class. You open the door, they shake your hand, look you in the eyes. Hello, Mrs. Smith, how are you today? I'm fine, thank you for asking. And then they come in. Each one of the kids learn to do that. They all sit down, they get quiet, they get out the books, and everything begins to work smoothly, because in the beginning, in the foundation laying portion of class, which is in the first couple weeks of class, you've done all that. You've used your corrections, use your praise, give them candy, give them stars, whatever it is in the beginning, to really show that if you're good, I will notice you. Right? I will pay attention to you. And that same thing with your dog. Every time they do something good that you've been working on, you want to be there for that thing. It's basically based on whale training or dolphin training, that now we're looking for the opportunity to praise and reward. And we want to begin to focus less on the correction when possible. But it's always there when we need it. All right. Hope I didn't jump around too much there. I hope I made sense. And so I wanted to give that our philosophy, and wanted you to know where we're coming from in our training, whether you're out there with Gina or Derek or in our membership site watching our videos, that everything is dependent on a whole bunch of situations. But once you find it, you can stick to it. And if you stick to it and be black and white in your communication, then everything works fantastically. All right. Wow, we went on a whole hour today. Hour and five. Oh no, yeah, an hour. An hour perfectly. So I hope that all made sense for you. I hope the stories are good. Sorry that you had to watch me hunt around for the conversion table. Oh my gosh, I think I've a lack of oxygen from CrossFit today. They kicked my ass doing a double under jump ropes. Haven't done doubles in a long time. But I lost a lot of oxygen. I was sweating. And so don't forget to go to falcoK9TV.com. The link is up there. You go there and you'll get our white paper on training with love and respect. And it discusses some of the things we just talked about right now. So make sure and share with your friends. Make sure and like. Make sure and subscribe. That way you can get notified anytime we go live. I cannot wait to get the new software that we're going to be using. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be able to listen to other people other than myself, other than just being here in the place. We're going to begin to bring other people on board and interview them and bring other experts in the area. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. So I'm just going to go on a little bit longer here. And you can sign off. Feel free to sign off. But I just want to guard the replay because, like I've said before, the replay, for whatever reason, using this system I'm using now, gets cut off on the replay. The live apparently stays live all the way to the end, but the replay, for some reason, and like I said, I've called support a whole bunch of times and have not been able to get a solution. I've done everything. I've deleted this program and reloaded it using a newer version. I've done all that stuff, and it just really doesn't seem to help. The only thing that I really don't like about this is that I can't see any of the comments that you may or may not be putting in, and that's kind of frustrating. I'm going to look at something really quick and see if it's working. Again, you don't have to listen to all this. This is just me trying to make sure that I get enough on the ending that when the replay comes, that all this that I'm talking about right now will be cut off, because that's kind of what's been going on. So I'm going to a page here that's I'm gonna try to see if where do I go for this? It's been so long since I've looked. Link Cloaker, live broadcast. Look at live broadcast. So I should be able to see my live broadcast that's going on right now. And I'm not. I see a whole lot of old ones. I've done a lot of live broadcasts. I have other Facebook pages that I do these things on. And, of course, the one that I'm doing right now is not appearing. It's thinking. It looks like it might be loading. Oh, this is the one that's going live. And I'm going to launch Comment Manager. Oh, 249. Oh, thanks, Carlene. If you're still on, thank you. Autism Awareness. Thank you, Autism Awareness. Oh, gosh. I wonder when did that one come? About an hour ago. 45 minutes. Thank you, Carlene. You did the math good. All right. I can see the comments. This tool was not working 3 or 4 broadcasts ago, so I kind of gave up on it. But it's not allowing me. I can't comment. So hopefully they'll get this one fixed too. So with some of these developers who are creating some of these tools, they're allowing us to do stuff on Facebook Live. Some of them work 90% of what it is they're supposed to be doing, and then there's always that 10% that just can't. This doesn't seem to work. But Carlene's always there. That's my assistant. She's in Idaho. She's always there making sure that I'm doing the right stuff. All right. Carlene, if you're still on, if you could comment right now, because I want to see how quickly the comments come in. because the last comment I have from you was 41 minutes ago. And I'm sure you've probably gone to bingo or whatever it is you do over there in Idaho. I don't know what that is. Yeah, so I don't know if I have to refresh in order to get that or if it'll pop up automatically. Darn it. All right, let me go to a Facebook page here. So I know this probably seems odd to some of you that I'm not on Facebook because I'm broadcasting on Facebook. But that is the way this works, is that I'm in another tool. Hold on. I know this is boring for those of you that are sticking around, but this is part of my solution to making sure that the ending is there, in case you're wondering what the heck I'm doing. All right. Oh, had a bunch of shares. 296 people. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you again for watching. Thanks for putting up with some of the shenanigans that we had to put up there at the end. This is a new technology, but it is getting better and better and better. And this new platform, I'm fairly certain that I will have it up and running by next Saturday. I'm going to put out some more announcements about our show, and it's going to be good. It's good. Share, like, subscribe. Please do all those things before you leave. If you haven't done any of those things already, I would really appreciate it. And I will see you at the next broadcast. All right, take care, you guys. Make sure and stand for the national anthem tomorrow. All right, take care. Bye.